and I have a very, very dear friend. This is like a soul sister. I swear to you, I probably felt her when I was like 8 years old, and just her presence of her spirit came to me like, she's just such a powerful being of light and love. And I just remember laying there and just feeling this love, and I still feel that love now. So this amazing being, her name is Desiree and Abby, and she's coming to us from the Netherlands. And I am sure you can feel her love from wherever you are in the world, because she just has this huge heart of pure unconditional love. And she has this process called HEART that she teaches. She's also a graduate of the Intuitive Success Coaching Certification Program, and she's one of our teachers now. And she is just living this. I have watched her create a beautiful home, relationship, life. I mean, she just changes everybody's lives that she touches for the better. So Desiree, I just want to welcome you to Intuitive You and just Oneness Talk Radio. Just we're so grateful that you're all here. So welcome.
Wow, thank you very much. So great to be here.
Of course. So Desiree, what is the way that you connect with your intuition, and how did you first feel it? Because I think we all have it, and it's just becoming more aware of it.
Exactly. Yeah. When I feel my intuition, it's like it's stronger than a knowing. It's everything in me says that. So it's not just a thought in my mind. It's not just a feeling. It's everything. It's my head, my heart, my gut. Everything is congruent, and it's like a pull forward. And there's no hesitation. I just go. I just do. It's not a reaction. It's an action, and an action that is so pure, so clear, and it always lands well because it's following love and is guided by light.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think our intuition is that remembrance of the light we are, and to keep following the step of light. I was just talking with Alyssa, I think it was a couple of days ago, because we have the Universal Language of Love coming up today. Actually, anybody else that wants to join at 5 p.m. Pacific tonight, and Desiree will talk a little more about that because you're a part of it too. But we're doing these live classes on creating a life that you love from your intuition. So we're researching the different types of how intuition comes through, right? Like clairaudience, which is clear hearing, clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, clairsentience, which is feeling, and then claircognizance, I think, is what you described, which is the knowing. It's the clear knowing. And then there's clear something or other about the smell and the taste, and I couldn't even pronounce the words. But my point is, there's this frequency of our intuition, what I like to talk about as our soul, right? Guiding us. And that soul is that light that I felt in you, that you feel in me, that I feel everybody here listening, that you feel us. Like that frequency is the universal language of love. It is that love that's interconnecting us all in this like web of life, like I just remember in Oregon, like there used to be all these spider webs all over my house. And it'd be like, wow, I love these spider webs because it's like this web of life, right? And people probably creeped out if they saw how many were there. But it's like, I loved how the spiders just create this beautiful web that's like interconnected. And at the center, the spider sits, right? And I'm like, the very seat of the soul. What is that center point? And I love what you said, we have this oneness. We talked a little bit before we went live about, we have this oneness, this interconnectedness. And within that is our individuation of source. So our extension, our expansion of that one love, which is our expression, right? Our personality, our businesses, our relationships, where we live, whatever, the expression. So I would love for you to share, how we can maintain that sense of oneness and connection to our intuition by being ourselves and being connected in that beautiful web of life.
Exactly. So when I look back at what I've learned so far, is that I first had to learn who I was, what my feelings were, where my fears were, the good and the bad sides of me, my light side and my shadow side. Because the more I had a map on who Desiree is, the better I could help others from that, so to say. So if in my daily life, if I get triggered by something and I shoot into my fear, I can be because of how I am aware that I can feel my fear, I allow myself to feel that fear. I
Mm.
can remove the trigger. I can go to the fear and ask it what it needs, where I'm being triggered in, if it's an old wound or not. And when I release that, I can learn something from it. And as soon as I release the fear, there's always like a puzzle piece that makes me take a bigger step into my own light and into a bigger step that opens my heart. And each time that I do that, that I allow myself to grow in this way, and open my heart even more, it's as if I can step into the world more clearly, more with more light and with more love, to become aware and see why things are happening in the world without being too much triggered or swept away from it, but find my place in it. Because the more I know about my own strengths and weaknesses, my own shadow sides and my light sides, where I draw my strength, my light, and my love from, the better I know how to serve this world from a purity and not from a fear or a lack or something like that. So it is, as you say, the spider's web, and I like to see it as is if we are all cogs interconnected with each other, that I turn my cog with the decisions I do, but I'm hooked into other cogs that turn with me. And that's how everything in life is connected to each other. We all create movement, and from my movement, I may move literally or figuratively speaking, uh, emotionally or physically speaking. I move another person, and that's how we create movement, and that's how we grow. And that's what I feel in the time of now, that we are moving as a whole towards a more loving, a more light society, even though there's a lot of crazy things happening around us in the world. But just if you take a step back and don't get sucked into the drama, but really take a step back and look at what the crazy things are uh, manifesting in the world, it's manifesting more light and more love into this world.
Mhm.
Even with the virus, COVID, and things like that, we are drawn back on ourselves now to have time to think who we are, and what we want, and how to be closer to the heart now. And then
Mhm.
from there, because that's the first step, first you come home into your heart before you can uh, mean something to the world around you. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Oh, I love it. It's just like music to my ears. It's so beautiful. Coming home to your heart. And what I love that you said, a couple of things is, like you have a place in the world. So it brings you back to the place that you uniquely, perfectly have. And my guides were really speaking to me strong yesterday. And they're like, you are perfectly you. Just like he's perfectly him and you're perfectly you. Like we're all perfectly ourselves. And in that cog example you're talking about, it's like as you become you, you make your decision that affects somebody else, right? And you want it to be guided from love, of course. It is full interconnectedness. I always say about the fear, right? It's like the perfect example. I think we talk about that in fourth chakra, like face your fears with love. So, like, you're not denying the fear. Like, it's such a beautiful way that you are doing that is you're facing the fear with love, feeling the fear, but not letting it take over you and getting the message saying, oh, yeah, what is it you need? Because it's just energy, right? It's like turning on a light bulb in a dark room. Like, what is it you need? Or a child needing something, it's like an aspect of us that maybe we don't even understand. I remember I was talking to another really good friend. This was months ago, and she's like, "Well, why don't you just, I was at that point, I was scared of like going to an airport because of the COVID. Since then, I really just completely let it go, and I was like, whatever." But she's like, "Feel the fear, and just feeling it releases it." And so I actually did feel the fear, and I ended up not taking that flight, and I didn't need to. I ended up driving and having a great trip. Is I felt it to then be able to discern what was the best choice for me. And so it wasn't, letting it stop me. It was like, let me feel this and then see what is the best guidance and option and choice for me. Right. So I think that, fear in and of itself is just an energy. So if it passes through us, it's almost just clearing it out, clearing the way for more love to enter. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's not only so with fear, that's with all our basic emotions, like feeling love, feeling sadness, feeling fear, feeling jealousy, and feeling anger. Those are the triggers, the biggest triggers in our lives that are like these natural feelings always have a gift underneath them. So if you are willing to sit yourself down and be with that emotion and ask it what it needs or what message it holds to you, then it will always guide you to a higher version of yourself. There's always a lesson that wants to be learned and a gift that wants to be unwrapped. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. I was talking to
Mhm.
another dear friend. I have so many great people and friends in my life. And we were just sharing how basically, somebody else's energy can sometimes affect us, right? Like we feel other people. And as empaths, Karen and I talked about this a couple shows ago that we feel energy and sometimes it's not ours. So I think that's another, discernment piece. And I'm curious if practices where you can be that compassionate witness, but not take on that other energy of the other person. It can be so hard, right? Because I think we naturally care about each other. So when somebody's going through a hard time, it's like we feel it if they're stressed and upset and wonder, is it us? And maybe it's not us, maybe it is, whatever. Like how to be in that flow of love to keep our vibration. The word compassion comes to mind for me, but I'm wondering if you have anything else, to kind of add on that.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Especially for us empaths, we have such a strong remembrance of how it is when we were in the collective, to be as one, to feel the love, to feel the light. And coming here on Earth, um, what I remember mostly as the lessons that I've learned so far is for me to accept that I'm human now, that I am no longer part of the collective as strongly as I was before, but that I chose as a soul to come here and to have the freedom of choice to experience my life, to experience a life, and to experience my life. How do I live as Desiree? And I fought that one a long time because it felt alone and it felt confusing. Um, that everything that I witnessed in life, that there was suffering, that there was people who weren't well, and I couldn't understand it because I've been brought up in a family of love. There's so much love and so much light in my family with my father, my mother, and my sisters, my sister and my brother, that to not have love, that was a foreign concept to me. And I also remember that I struggled, I fought as a child for a very long time to they call it when you fall out of paradise, that paradise resembles the where we come from source or from God or whatever term you use for that, but from the connectedness. And the first time a baby is born and has to cry for their basic needs, that's when they drop out of paradise. That's when they realized, like, okay, uh, being met in my first needs is not automatically anymore. I have to do something for it. I have to cry for it. I have to feel discomfort and then it will come to me, so to say. So I fought that feeling for a very long time, keeping myself on the outer perimeters of society, so to say. I was always the person alone in a room on the side wall, you know, just because I couldn't understand life. I couldn't understand the suffering or the need to suffer. But as the older I became, the more I understood that nothing is without a reason, and that's it's not the suffering, but the lessons in life that sometimes feels like we are squeezed, or often feels like we're being emotionally squeezed in corners, or I describe as well as if we're being pushed through a bottleneck, like it's very compact. And then but when we get it, when we understand why a situation has happened and we come to the other side, the release that comes in emotion, in energy, in the way we are allowed to grow again to a better version, a bigger version of ourselves, is so beautiful. And that's, to me, what life is all about now. So as an empath, just to summarize, the thing is, yes, we are born with such a high degree of what light and what love and what connectiveness should feel like, and how confusing it can feel when it's not, when there's so much suffering around us, or so much pain or sorrow that you feel that from the world around you. Then it's even more important to know that where your tools are, where your gifts are, who you are as a person, and how you can fit into these cogwheels, into this play, so to say, and where your responsibilities lie, how you want to show up in this world and mirror your love and your light back into this world. And that is going to help all the people around you who are linked to you, even the ones that don't like you, they even more. They learn
Mhm.
even more, even though they are not aware how much they learn from you, but they learn the most. And that's also on yourself. The people that annoy you in your life the most are the ones that carry the greatest lessons for us. As long as we are open enough, brave enough, and willing enough to take on the challenge, to take on the
Mm.
transformation. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Of course. Like I said, it's like music to my ears. I love it. You speak my language, and I feel everybody listening understands. There's just a knowing, and it's, like I said, a remembrance of who we are. And it's funny, I remember in high school, I had kind of a similar experience. The word utopia, which I think means like a perfect world. I remember some, I think, English teacher saying something like, well, the world isn't like that, and it's not a perfect world, and it's a power struggle, and people, what they really want is power. And I remember thinking, but the world could be perfect. Like, I want to create a perfect world that, like, it's all love. Everybody has what they want. Like, that's how the world should be. And I guess I actually believe in that still, that everybody can have what they want and work in harmony. Because if we're really listening to what's true for us in our hearts and our intuition, we're going to be who we are. We're going to attract experiences and people into our lives that we all fit together. Our cogwheels all fit together. And maybe we're evolving into those higher versions of our, and at the rate and speed and time that it's perfect for all people, and both people and whatever, business, personal, whatever, to come together, it happens, right? There's harmony. So I think you're right. There's an evolvement piece of our souls. It's like, I'm going to use a different word because I don't like that. It's kind of like, you come into the world, feeling this oneness. And I guess that is the better word, is remembering, right? Like, I was going to say something like fall from grace, but I feel like grace is always here. So you don't ever have to
Mhm.
fall. You just have to remember who you are. Like
Exactly.
the Lion King. I swear to God, I love cartoons. I think Tinkerbell and the Lion King are like amazing movies. And like that Lion King where the dad like passes, his physical body does, but when he comes back in spirit and he looks at his son as a reflection, and he says, remember who you are, right? Like, those
Exactly.
words speak to the soul. Like, you can feel it, you know?
Yes, very true.
So, yeah, yeah. And it is. It's like, I feel your light reflecting mine, exactly what you said, right? And there's this cognition, this understanding. Oh, yeah. I remember, oh yeah. And I love what you said about responsibility. It's funny, a good friend, man, we were sitting by the river one time and she said, basically, like, you have a responsibility to your purpose. And something just clicked in. I was like, whoa, like, you're right. Like, I have a responsibility to fulfill why I know my soul came here. We all do. And so when we feel that from a place of power, it like inspires us, right? To just lift into that and become that greater expression. And I think to feel the oneness in our hearts, as that spiritual connection that then can move through our physical bodies, right? And we can create, my mom likes to say heaven on earth, right? But you're moving in that greater flow. Um, and I think releasing what you don't need, like you can hear probably the garbage truck outside. Anyways,
And that's a nice
connected.
metaphor. And that's a nice metaphor, because the more garbage of ourselves we take outside, the more room we have to fill ourselves with love and light.
Right.
We don't need the garbage of old trauma or lines of people that we grew up with that diminished ourselves in our freedom, so to say. Like if we got told in our lifetime that you're just short and you can't reach, or you won't make it, or things like that, and you choose, because that's what it is. They can say it to you, but it's somewhere in you that you choose to hold on to those sayings. That's your responsibility, okay, to see that, to acknowledge that one. So if you then, because then you also have the freedom, if you choose to hold on to something that doesn't serve you, you can also choose to let go of that. I don't say it's easy, because it takes some process to go through that, but that's the way it is. So when you choose to let go of that, as I said just now, we take out the garbage in our energy bodies and things like that, and our light bodies, then we free up space to take in what we do need, and that is love and light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, even like this process of moving, when you let go, you create so much space. It's like I just got to the ocean, it's just like spacious, spacious. And it's like, whoa, what is this? And then it was like, well, what do I create next? And it's like, oh, write your second book. Like it creates the space to create something more. So there is somebody, Kathy Burns, I think, was on the show like a month ago, and she talked about like space creates, or she has to me before, like space literally creates the opportunity to grow and evolve into something more. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you create more space in your life? So you let go of what doesn't work, you open up to more love and light. Is there a way you just do that? Is it kind of by choice? Like you're like, hey, I don't feel like I need this? Because it's a really interesting phenomenon, this letting go thing, because even though we know we need to let things go because it's familiar, I know for me, there was an attachment, right? So how do you like safely and gracefully and easefully let go of what's not working and feel good about opening up into that greater space and involvement?
Perfect question. Thanks for asking that. Um, to first of all, if I hook back to the empath thing, and that I refuse to live my life here, so to say, the second thing I refused was to accept that I had a body, because my body felt too small, because it never matched the energy I felt inside of me. I've always had a strong connection with my soul, with my light and my love. But well, for the ones who have never met me, I'm 1 meter 60 centimeters, so I don't know how that measures up, but that's I'm like well, it's funny, I just saw Friends and Danny DeVito, and I thought like, wait, that's the one guy that I'm slightly taller than. But but my energy feels like a giant of 3 meters tall, like a big oak. So I refused to accept the body that I had. But ironically speaking, the body is the one thing you need to root down into this earth, to center down your light and your love, to hold. It's literally the vessel that holds those two sacred things within you. So when I refused to connect to my body, I literally didn't have such a great connection with the outside world. Like literally, when I was walking in a street in how do you say that? When you go shopping, people would literally bump against my body because I was not visible. I refused to own my body, so people didn't see me. I always blame I always blame my height, but that's another thing. When I don't take responsibility in acknowledging that I have a body and blame the outside world for not seeing me, it's a visual circle going down, a spiral going down. So as soon as I recognized, yes, Desiree, you are born, you are an individuation of source, of the oneness, you have a body now, use it, own it, live in it. And as you know, that's when we met, that as soon as you helped me with this, in reconnecting with my body and not reconnecting with all the bodies I felt around me, because my energy felt so big. I could feel 6 bodies around me, feel and have the feeling that I was 6 bodies around me, then it would have matched, but I had to acknowledge mine. So as soon as I did, I started to feel my body more. And as soon as I felt my body remembered all the lessons that my soul wanted to experience. They are literally in your cells. They are remembered in your cells. So if you deny the existence of your bodily cells, then you miss a lot of communication and a lot of messages from your soul that is guiding your way onwards in this life, that is trying to lay out the route that you want to as an adventure in this life, the life you want to experience. So as I started to connect with the cells in my body again, it started to show me where, again, what the basic feelings I had, like the that I've named before. And as soon as I started asking those basic feelings, like, okay, why? What are you telling me? What am I supposed to learn? It opened up more of me and acceptance more of my body, and relate gifts to me. And it really anchored me down in my body. And the more I anchored myself down in my body, um, the more visible, literally, I became for people around me. They no longer bumped against me. They sometimes, I live near the beach. So when I take a walk on the beach, I have a new hobby now, as I told you, like collecting things off the beach. And then uh, in the sequence that I find them, they tell me a story. I call them stacks, and I connect a message to them. And just walking on the beach can fill me with so much love and so much light that I can hold within, literally in my body. Now it radiates from my eyes. You've seen that too. But then when I look up, I can see people smile at me, or children come up to me and they want to touch me, or owners are suddenly their dogs walk towards me and they want to be cuddled and pet. That's a natural cause of effects, so to say, when we fully embody love and light. But we need to, before we can have that, we need to accept who we are and that we are a body. And no, even though we are a body, we're still connected to the whole.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just so beautiful. Like my tears welled up because I remember that's when everything shifted for you. When you got in your body, you manifested your dream home, you manifested your dream partnership, and you got to experience your life as your soul intended it. And had you not faced your fears of being in your body, of accepting yourself, being yourself, and feeling your body, whatever is moving through, to create the space again to have that experience of this beautiful home and partnership and life. So it's just such a joy to witness, like, you did that, like you got into that and are living a life you love because of it, right? And again, I know it sounds silly saying it so many times, but it's a remembrance. Like you said, your soul, your cells knew. And so when we get into our body, and I think that's why so young, I figured out that the gut really is the visceral experience of your intuition. Like it really does, because I tested it. It's like, yes, your heart knows, but if you drop deeper into your gut, it connects your heart with your mind too. And then it brings all three of those centers together and embodies you. It allows you to be the messenger of that love. And so just sticking with that, knowing, like, I just want everybody to trust and know that that soul and cellular memory is in you right now. And just like Desiree says, as you open up, you feel your body, feel your emotions, and like, I think we're all so probably emotional and intuitive because we're so tuned in. And so we feel things so strong, right? Like a prick feels like a ton of bricks. We're like, whoa, you know? But it's like to have the courage to stand, just like I love this Buddha. This is from Bali. And I meditate with this Buddha all the time because you feel the centeredness. Do you feel that no matter what's going on, there's this presence of soul, of knowing, of witnessing the emotions, feeling, and having that, and now embodying it, right? So there's this presence that when we embody it, we become it. And that literally is the intuitive success coaching process. It's allowing the universe to move through us and activate that intuition that already knows. Right. And so the more we can do that, and I love how you work with kids, like, you know, in your daily life, like not only are you a part of the intuitive child now, but like your daily life is you work with kids. You are that beacon of light saying, hey, like even without saying anything, right? Again, the universal language of love is a frequency. It's love. It's the heart, right? I would go to Thailand not knowing the language and speak love and have people take me around the islands and take care of me, right? Like not even asking for it, right? The love holds you. So when you go into these classrooms and you're working with these kids, you're holding them in your frequency of love without saying anything. Like, I know eventually you'll talk, but it's your frequency. And so all of us, right? Like listening, like we have this frequency, you know? Another one of those people I was telling you about earlier, like she took a flight. Like I was like, hey, by the way, you transformed everybody on that flight and everybody that was like underneath on in America, like that light that you are like transformed that whole, like those states, you know? So it's like, it is so powerful. And like, if we knew, which we are giants energetically, we are giants of love and light. And, you know, when I moved here, started coming here more, like I would tell my friend, I'm like, literally my energy is growing into this, like this giant energy, like it's way beyond your physical body. And when you embody or embrace or feel that power, like you're unstoppable, right? And then there's another level that I've experienced, like some fear of, oh my God, I'm that powerful. Oh, okay, what am I consciously creating, right? Back to your point of choice, like what am I choosing? Because I choose everything from the moment of this thought and how I feel to who I have in my life, to what I experience, to where I go, to where I live. Like we've all probably been in some point of feeling like victim, but are we really, when we really move into the creator, like if we've had an experience, you know, where maybe we felt victimized, where did that experience take us into a new level of power to now consciously create what we want because we're that connected? So
Exactly.
just some thoughts, you know, if they resonate or not.
They do, exactly. And what you said about being the victim, in being in victim, not in victim mode, but being a victim in a situation and how to turn that around, those are very powerful experiences that we can grow from. Yeah, I once saw this movie, like Power of the Heart. It's a movie about people's experiences, and I don't remember what the girl was called, like, but she was, I believe, in Africa, and she was hiding, and she had to be hiding behind in a room with a closet in front of it, and if the closet was opened or removed, then they would see the room where she and another two girls were hiding. And then if they were discovered, they would lose their lives. That was a certainty. And then but and those, she had to stay for weeks, I believe, in that room, and that must have been very terrifying. And the way she describes it, it's unbelievable, believable but unbelievable. Like, my God, did she had to go through that kind of thing? But also the amount of love that she felt, uh, also in that room, for even though the fear of losing her life was so big, the amount of love that she felt, it was incredible. So that's how two things can exist at the same time, and it comes down to perception. Like, which one of the two do I choose? And this is where the freedom ties in again, the freedom of choice. Which one of the two do I hold on to as the experience I want in this moment? Do I choose the fear and go literally insane with fear that my life will be taken? Or do I hold on to that love? And that's and which she did, and she made it. She survived. They didn't find her and the girls. So that's how I see my life stronger and stronger, more clearly. Like, okay, I always have a choice in every moment of time. So which one do I choose? What person, how do I want to be? That's then my question. Today as well, here in the Netherlands, it's been advised, for instance, to wear the mouth guards to in public spaces. So I traveled by bus, and there were a lot of youngsters in the bus, and there were two youngsters that didn't wear their mouth mask. Now I had the choice to really blow my top in the bus. That you know, because it really pissed me off. I thought it was disrespectful and things like that. But then I ask myself the question, like, okay, do I really want to be that person that loses and goes screaming to that youngster for not wearing their mouth guard? No, that's not how I want to be. I want to come from light, and I want to come from love. So I can choose uh, to wear my mouth guard to make sure that I'm safe and that everybody else around me in the bus is safe. And she chooses not to do so. That's her choice. But I also choose not to bite her head off, because that's not serving anybody in this situation. Um, and yeah, that's how I try to maneuver my way through life, to make my choices as close to the heart as I can, see where I have a responsibility and see where I have an influence, where I can be of help, but certainly not to damage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It's so beautifully said. I just taking it in, it's like I just to feel it. Yeah. I guess the only thing that I would add to that is when having a choice, my tagline for the longest time and still is illuminating the path of your highest potential. So going back to your cells, remembering it's like, okay, if I have a choice, what's my highest path? What's the highest potential? What's the high road? And just maybe your mind doesn't know it, but your gut does. And so, like you said, being in the moment, that love, and then moving in the direction of your dreams, which is your highest potential, lived out, like experienced. You could use the word manifested or realized. Um, but your gut will guide you like a compass towards that. Like you'll get a feeling, like you shared earlier, like, yeah, this is the right thing to do now. I can feel this.
Exactly. If I'm allowed, I have an example of that one. Um, I got a phone call, my mom got a phone call to be of service to somebody as a volunteer, but she was unable to do so because of her schedule. So I overheard the conversation, and as you asked at the start of the show, how do you know that your intuition is there, and how do you know how to follow it? My head was out of the picture, but I knew with everything within me, I have to do this. I have to ask my mom to call back the person that she had to say no to, and ask them if I can do her, if I can step into her place and fulfill the task she had to do. So she did, and it ended in the most magical experience that I had for myself, because I met up with the how do you say that, in your language, I think it's a pastor, the one who baptizes you, yeah,
Mm.
and does your commune, yeah, the little, okay, excellent. So I met up with him again, and I had the opportunity to be with him in the final days of his life, and we had such amazing talks together, me from how I look at life, and him from his point of view of life, because he's still connected very strongly to the church.
Mhm.
And even though we came from two different directions, it was amazing to see how we spoke the same language, and that is the language of love. And um, it's it moved me deeply to see how he could speak about uh, the way he loved in his life and what he was experiencing now, because he was also very fearful of the last part of his life, because he was doubtful whether he was being how do you say that, uh, if God would take him into his arms or not, so to say. So he was a bit fearful of that. And during our talks, he discovered that he was already there. That's it doesn't matter what you do, that love is always there, and love will always lead the way, all the way home. Literally, for him also, all the way home. So that was like how we how I learned to always follow my intuition, even though my head can't understand where it's taking us. Your heart and your gut, when you get that pull to do something, it's a step, and you have to follow that one, to be brave enough to follow that one and to see where it leads you. That.
Wow, it's so beautiful. You know, the word omnipresence comes to mind. And
Mhm.
I was thinking about a post that I wrote a while ago, like love is always in every moment, like exactly what you said. And so when you actually, they say, have courage, which is like facing your fear, but it's kind of like, well, if love's already there, what are you even afraid of? And I think it's our thought of separation
Exactly.
or trusting the love, right?
Mhm.
Because in essence, love is holding us. The presence is always there. I know in every cell of my being, it's being moved through and in every one of us, through nature, trees, animals, everything. It's that, and that really is what life force connection is. I literally remember writing, like they wrote through me. I was like a nanny at the time looking at the ocean, and I was on my computer and just wrote life force connection. And I'm like, that's what it is. It is the omnipresence of pure unconditional love, life force energy, source energy, moving in and through everybody and everything and propelling us all forward into more love, into more greater expression. And so I think to recognize and make the choice, if you choose, that it's always there, to connect to the love in the moment, to follow that pull of your intuition. Like when I left my scholarship in Whittier at college for the school, I like literally felt something pulling me down to La Jolla. Like it was like it's a pull. It's like a magnetic pull. And so that next step, even though you may not fully understand that, I think that's what you mean by your mind is like, what, there's this heart knowing and this gut connection that your mind will later follow. And, you know, I've said it before, I think there's 500 million cells in your gut. So there's something about your body that's telling you, and really to invest in your health, you know, the nutritional, the vitamins. Like, you know, I just talked to my mom this morning. I'm like, man, you know, like I'm buying these vitamins because I know I need them and it's worth it. Because, you know, my mental and emotional stability is so clear when I have those right nutrients. And so we all need to invest in what is it that we need to nutrify our physical bodies with. So it's like that instrument of love, right? And it plays this beautiful music in harmony with everything around us,
Mhm.
right? Creating that
Yeah,
next involvement of the cogwheels.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And just to grab back on something you said just now, like there is no, for to me, let me keep it by me, but to me there is no right or more wrong. So what I mean with that is, if we in a certain point of time do not have the courage yet to accept the challenge, to accept the gift, then it will always come back in time, in a circle, and it will always reconnect with us again, so we can try and do the lesson again. So because I firmly believe that what is ours can't be denied, and what I mean with that is that if there's something, a gift in the future that we need to evolve ourselves into a wider version that can hold more light and love, that lesson will come back to us in a certain moment that we are ready for it. We are allowed to practice, because this life also is also about fun. That it's not only like, if you don't get this lesson now. Well, sorry, buddy, you missed the boat, and well, exit stage. No, that's not how it works. We get millions and millions of moments to try to get into the best version of ourselves.
100%. I mean, I was just thinking about, yeah, some recent experiences, and I guess what's being shared is um, they're gentle nudges. So your intuition is like a gentle nudge. It's like, because the universe really is cradling you. So it's like, here you go. And we're just going to nudge you. Like that's your intuition, that gut feeling pointing you here, just a little nudge. And if you go great and fly the first time, if you don't, you hold on, like I've done many times. Hold on, hold on. Okay, like Desiree said, oh, come back again. The circle, still holding you. Oh, here's more opportunity. Here's more support. Oh, now I feel ready. Now I've embodied this. Now I trust my intuition enough to take that step. And there's no judgment, right? That's why the intuitive success coaching process is unconditional love. There's no judgment. Like, why? And that was the other piece I was getting, I don't know, a while ago. I thought, in oneness, there is no judgment because there's not separation, right? There's choice, there's discernment, but there's not judgment of, good, bad, right, or wrong. There's just, oh, I choose this because in my wholeness, this is how I want to be in love and acceptance. And in the oneness, I attract that into my world. Okay, right? So maybe just everybody listening, if you want to just kind of notice where you're being gently nudged and what you need to take a step in that direction.
Mhm. And as an addition to that, I also mentioned that jealousy was one of the 5 emotions, basic emotions.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with jealousy because jealousy is, how do you say that, a pointer to something that your soul knows is in you, that you recognize,
Mhm.
but your mind is still in the false belief that it's not there. So if you are jealous of something or somebody around you in your surrounding, pay close attention to that because there's a gift of yourself being remembered that you've got the same qualities in you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're recognizing that because that's you, like you said, in you. And that's
Yeah,
probably something you're going to experience. So you're like, oh, yeah, I want that too. Cool. I associate with
yeah,
that. I recognize
yeah.
it.
But as a child, we've been unlearned that being jealous of something is naughty, is bad. You shouldn't be jealous of something.
Mhm.
But if you refuse to listen to those nudges, to the nudges of jealousy, then you miss a lot of pointers of qualities that you have inside of you.
Yeah, you know what? I got to see, I haven't seen this friend for years. She just met me with her family on the beach and she said something like, cut those thoughts off. She's like, just cut those thoughts off. They're not true. And I was like, so awesome, right? Just cut those thoughts off. Like whatever you're told or have been told or are being told that isn't true, cut those thoughts off.
Exactly.
So it's just like you can imagine a cord connected, just cut those thoughts off. So it's just so fun, bringing that funness in. So with that, I want to open the phone lines for the next like 10 minutes or so because we're a little bit past 9:45 and we have to wrap up a few minutes before 10 Pacific. Y'all can call in, 858-692-4555. Again, that's 858-692-45555. And that will just get you right in. And if you want to call, we can answer if you have any questions for Desiree or I. And then Desiree, we can just keep on rolling and tell if we get a caller. So
Yep.
yeah, anything else you want to say or share? Just bringing back to that, I guess I just feel this circle right now, really from my heart to everybody listening, it's just this full circle of just gratitude too. Gratitude to Oneness Talk Radio, gratitude for you all being in my world and that I can show up in yours. And of course to Desiree, I kid you not, there's a couple people in my life and she's one of them that I really genuinely felt when I was a kid. And then to actually see the embodiment of that spirit um, makes me remember that it's all real, right? So we feel things and don't deny what you feel, right? Because that's
Exactly.
intuition
Exactly.
guiding you. Um, and maybe it's something in the future that you're feeling. And the other thing I know, like for me and a lot of people I've noticed, we're preparing ourselves, right? We're preparing ourselves for what's next to become that greater unconditional love, to become that greater vessel. So the time that you spend being, I have another client, God, you guys are all my friends, right? She's like, I was gonna say she's another dear friend, and I'm like, I might as well just say everybody's my friend because they are. It's like she's like, I feel bad that I'm just being. I feel like I need to do more. And I'm like, girlfriend, you're just about ready to like buy a new house. In case you hadn't noticed, your beingness is working. And the doing things that you're doing are very smart decisions that are guiding you to make more money. You're all good. So if we really get that the beingness, I would spend, probably years, you guys, before I created this school, like I would just run and open up into this like vibration of what I now teach, right? So it's like literally creating the space, and actually just a few miles from this house that I'm at now. So it's like you're going to be put where you need to be put and the space that you need to be in to prepare you for where you're going next. So like, please don't ever think anything's a waste of time. Please don't ever judge yourself for being anything less than perfect, because you're perfectly you. And to embody that love, and yeah, the lessons, I think sometimes maybe they can be hard, but how much more does that guide us and propel us into, wow, the contrast now is this is who I really want to be more of, right? And what I really want to embody. So if we see it like that, I think this necklace even has that, whatever that sign is, Desiree, where it's black and white, it's like the balance, the
Yin and
yin and
yang.
something. I used to be like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, I get it. Because within that, lesson, there is the light that actually flips over to the other side, right? And so you have this flow. So yeah, is there anything else you want to share about that?
Well, actually, it's awesome that you mentioned the yin and yang, because even though how dark it gets around us, there's always light. There's always light to guide us back home from the darkness. And also, when we are in total lightness, there's always a little bit of darkness that's allowed to be there to remind us that we have the both, that we are I was always going to say fortunate enough, but we are fortunate enough to have the both in our bodies, that we can experience the both in our bodies, both lightness and darkness. Because when you are in total darkness, when life hurts, you can feel like you are at the bottom of this well. And if you just look down on the floor of the well, we sometimes forget to look up. And when we look up, there's always the light, that is the sky. When you are down on the well, the floor of the well, you look up and there's sky. And the distance between the bottom of the well and the ceiling of the sky, that's how much space there literally is in ourselves to hold both, as if they are like, what do you say, scales. Like, as much darkness that you can hold of yourself on the other side, that's in equal measures how much light you can hold on the other side of yourself. And those two measurements give space for you to be beside somebody else who goes through their hell or their sadness. Because without being somebody who says like, oh yeah, I've been there, I know what it's like. No, just to be there, to hold space for them, to experience their own darkness so they can climb out by their own strength back into the light. That's how I see the function of why we suffer, to have both and have the strength from both experiences, both light and darkness, to be beside somebody else who is going through his own struggle.
Mm-hmm. I just love that. I mean, there was such a special moment. I remember, I don't know, days ago. Honestly, time is, I can't remember the exact day and time, but I was on the beach walking with the light. So the sun is literally walking beside me. I stop. My body like locks up, because I notice my body will do that if I need to stop. I don't know if you guys and gals have ever experienced that, where your body's like, hey, I just got to stop for a second so you really get this. And so I stopped, faced the sun. It just came through me. And I walked back, and the sun was going all the way to the oceans. And my guides were like, you're going to want to stay for the sunset. So I walked as much as I could, and the sun kept setting and the whole sky turned pink. I look out to the horizon, there's literally rainbows dancing. Literally, like with my physical eyes, I'm starting to see what I used to see energetically. And then the sun starts to turn. So the ocean starts to kind of turn that dark a little bit because the sun was going. And I look up towards the house. And as the sun turned from the ocean, I looked up and the moon was like almost completely full, holding the light. And I was like, isn't that fascinating? So you're walking with the light as one, like the dark starts to come in. There's actually, yep, the light's still there. Now it's just in the moon at night. And so I walked back home with this like deep sense of what you said, the knowing of oneness of light, that because love is always there, light is always there. And now it's not in the sun, it's actually in the moon. And I know that moon's going to be there all night until the next morning when it actually, the light appears in the sun and graces us with that. So it's just so beautiful to watch nature and life show up for you. That you said it's in you. And I guarantee you, if you go into your heart, that's where you're going to find the light. And you drop into your core, your gut, that's where you're going to find your guidance. Make sure you pass through your heart to get your guidance. First step is heart, then gut, because you're connecting through the light, which is love. And then that inner compass of your intuition activates and guides you on the illuminated path of your highest potential.
Exactly. And should we ever forget our own lightness, there will always be somebody in our lives to remind us of it. Even if it's just a person that pours the coffee from you at Starbucks, or you walk on the pavement and somebody says good morning. In brief encounters like that, or it's a dear friend that calls you out of the blue, there's always somebody that calls you back to your own light.
Yes. You have been one of those people in my life, and I am so grateful for you, so grateful for everybody. You can follow us at www.lifeforceconnection.com, learning about the nonprofit at the bottom of that page, and onenesstalkradio.com. Please check out all those shows there. You'll also find Intuitive You every 9 a.m. Pacific time. And Desiree wanted to share her email with you if you want to connect with her directly. So Desiree, if you want to share that and just spell it out maybe so people can get it if there's any language dialect difference.
Okay, yeah, so it's dcasaffrie, this is my last name. It's dcasaffrie at yahoo.co.uk. Yeah,
Beautiful.
that was it.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Desiree. I appreciate you doing that. And is there anything else that you want to give our audience before we log off live today?
Well, that I wish that everybody will have a magical day. Be with their lights in their lives, their own light, and people that they recognize in people around them, and that they just enjoy that, embrace it.
It's beautiful. Love, love, love you. Namaste, everyone, and have a beautiful day. Take care. Bye.
Bye.